In this episode, we continue asset management by following an asset through the practical stages of its life inside an organization. An asset does not become a security concern only after it is lost, stolen, infected, or retired. It becomes a security concern before it is even purchased because the choices made during planning and procurement shape how safely that asset can be used later. A laptop, server, cloud service, mobile device, application, storage platform, or data repository needs a clear purpose, a clear owner, a secure configuration, a way to be tracked, and a clean ending when it is no longer needed. This is why the asset lifecycle includes planning, procurement, assignment, accounting, tracking, disposal, and decommissioning. Each stage gives the organization a chance to reduce risk. Each stage also creates risk when it is skipped, rushed, undocumented, or treated as someone else's problem. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at Cyber.Me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Planning is the stage where the organization decides what it needs and why it needs it. This may sound like a business decision, but it has direct security impact. If a team wants new laptops, a new application, a new cloud service, or a new storage location, security questions should appear early. What data will the asset handle? Who will use it? Will it connect to internal systems? Does it need encryption? Does it support logging? Can access be controlled by role? Does the vendor provide updates? Can the asset be monitored? What happens when it reaches the end of its life? These questions are easier to answer before money is spent and work patterns are built around the asset. When planning ignores security, teams may later discover that a purchase tool cannot meet policy, cannot produce audit evidence, or cannot be safely integrated. Procurement is the process of acquiring the asset, and it is another important control point. Procurement is not only about price, availability, and delivery time. It is also about making sure the organization buys or subscribes to assets that can be supported, secured, and governed. For hardware, procurement may consider trusted suppliers, warranty support, security features, device management compatibility, repair options, and expected lifespan. For software and services, procurement may review licensing, vendor reputation, support commitments, data handling, authentication options, logging, vulnerability management, and contract terms. A cheap tool can become expensive if it creates unmanaged risk. A powerful service can become dangerous if nobody reviews where it stores data or how users are authenticated. Good procurement connects business need with security requirements, so the organization does not accidentally purchase a future blind spot. Procurement also helps control shadow information technology, IT, which happens when teams acquire tools, services, or devices outside approved channels. People often do this because they need to solve a problem quickly. They may sign up for a file sharing service, buy a small software subscription, or connect a device without realizing the security implications. The problem is that those assets may not appear in inventory, may not follow access rules, may not be monitored, and may store sensitive data in unknown locations. A clear procurement process gives people a safer path. It should not be so slow or confusing that people avoid it, but it should include enough review to identify risk before the asset enters use. This is especially important for cloud services because a team can create a new environment in minutes, long before security, privacy, legal, or records management teams know it exists. Assignment is the stage where an asset is given to a person, team, location, system owner, or business process. This stage matters because assets need accountability. If a laptop is assigned to an employee, the organization should know who has it, when it was issued, what condition it was in, and what security controls were enabled. If a server is assigned to an application team, the organization should know who approves changes, who handles patching, and who responds when alerts occur. If a software license is assigned to a user, access should match that person's role and business need. Assignment helps prevent orphaned assets, where something exists but no one is clearly responsible for it. Orphaned assets are risky because patches may be missed, alerts may be ignored, access may remain too broad, and nobody may feel responsible for final disposal. Accounting is the record-keeping side of asset management. It means the organization maintains a reliable record of what assets exist, where they are, who has them, what they cost, what condition they are in, and what stage of the life cycle they have reached. This can include purchase records, serial numbers, asset tags, license counts, ownership records, support dates, warranty information, configuration baselines, and data classification details. Accounting helps with security because it turns assets into traceable responsibilities rather than vague objects somewhere in the environment. If a device is lost, the organization can identify what it was, who had it, whether it was encrypted, and what data may have been present. If a software vendor announces a serious vulnerability, the organization can identify where that software is installed. Good accounting gives security teams facts when quick decisions are needed. Tracking keeps asset information current as the asset moves or changes. An asset may start with one user, then move to another. A laptop may be repaired, re-imaged, reassigned, or reported missing. A server may change network zones, host a new application, or be moved to a different environment. A cloud resource may be created for a project and forgotten after the project ends. Tracking means the inventory reflects these changes instead of freezing at the moment of purchase. This is where many organizations struggle. The asset record may be accurate on day one and wrong 6 months later. Strong tracking can use check-in procedures, device management tools, network discovery, cloud inventory tools, physical audits, change management, and user return processes. The point is simple. Assets keep moving, and the security record needs to move with them. Tracking also supports incident response. When an alert appears on a device, responders need to know what the asset is, who uses it, where it is located, what data it may access, and whether it is critical. If the inventory is current, responders can act faster. They can contact the right owner, isolate the right device, preserve the right evidence, and understand business impact. If tracking is weak, responders may waste time trying to identify a host name, locate a laptop, or determine whether a server is still in production. This delay can matter during malware outbreaks, stolen device investigations, insider misuse cases, and data exposure events. Tracking also helps when assets are lost. A missing encrypted laptop with no sensitive local data is a different risk than an unencrypted laptop containing confidential files. Accurate tracking helps the organization understand the real situation instead of guessing. Lost and unmanaged assets are security risks because they sit outside normal control. A lost phone may still have email, files, authentication apps, or cache sessions. A misplaced laptop may contain local documents, browser data, or saved access tokens. An unmanaged server may be missing patches and security monitoring. A forgotten cloud database may allow access that no one reviews. Even assets that are not stolen can create risk if no one knows they exist. Attackers often look for weak edges of the environment, and unmanaged assets can become exactly that. The organization may believe its patch coverage is strong, but forgotten devices may remain vulnerable. It may believe sensitive data is stored only in approved systems, while old exports sit on an abandoned file share. Tracking and regular reconciliation reduce this risk by finding gaps between what should exist and what actually exists. Disposal is the process of getting rid of an asset or the data on it in a safe and approved way. Disposal can apply to paper records, storage drives, mobile devices, laptops, removable media, servers, backups, and cloud storage. The right disposal method depends on the sensitivity of the data and whether the asset will be reused, returned, recycled, sold, donated, or destroyed. A device that stored confidential information needs more careful handling than a broken keyboard. Digital disposal may involve secure wiping, cryptographic erasure, media sanitization, or physical destruction. Paper disposal may involve shredding or secure destruction. The risk is that data can remain after casual deletion or ordinary formatting. If a device leaves the organization with recoverable data still on it, the organization may have created a breach even though the asset was no longer in active use. Disposal also requires proof. In many environments, it is not enough to say that assets were thrown away or wiped. The organization may need records showing what was disposed of, when it was disposed of, who approved it, which method was used, and whether a third-party disposal vendor provided a certificate of destruction. This evidence supports audits, investigations, privacy obligations, and internal accountability. Disposal records also help update inventory so retired assets do not appear active forever. Without proof, the organization may not be able to show that sensitive data was handled properly. A missing drive, an undocumented recycling batch, or an unverified wipe can create uncomfortable questions later. Good disposal is controlled, repeatable, documented, and matched to the data sensitivity. It closes the loop between asset ownership and final risk reduction. Decommissioning is broader than disposal because it is the controlled retirement of an asset from active use. A server may be decommissioned before the physical hardware is disposed of. An application may be decommissioned before its data is archived or deleted. A cloud environment may be decommissioned by removing access, shutting down resources, preserving required records, deleting unnecessary data, revoking keys, closing accounts, and updating documentation. Decommissioning asks whether the asset is truly no longer part of the operating environment. This matters because old systems often remain partly alive. A retired application may still have a login page. A database may still accept connections. A service account may still work. A storage bucket may still be reachable. Decommissioning should remove these leftover paths. It should also confirm that data, dependencies, backups, monitoring rules, and access permissions have been handled correctly. Improper decommissioning can leave behind serious security problems. An old server may run unsupported software with known vulnerabilities. A retired application may use weak authentication that no one monitors. A former employee's assigned device may never be returned or wiped. A cloud test environment may keep running with public access because no one shut it down. A vendor account may remain active after a contract ends. These leftovers are attractive because they often lack attention. Nobody budgets time for them. Nobody watches their logs, and nobody feels ownership. Attackers do not care whether a system is important to the business. They care whether it gives them a way in. Decommissioning reduces the number of forgotten doors. It also helps control cost, simplify operations, reduce audit scope, and make the environment easier to understand. The asset lifecycle works best when each stage connects to the next. Planning defines the need and security expectations. Procurement acquires something that can meet those expectations. Assignment gives the asset an accountable owner or user. Accounting records the asset so it can be managed. Tracking keeps the record accurate as the asset changes. Disposal removes data and materials safely when they are no longer needed. Decommissioning retires systems, services, accounts, and dependencies in a controlled way. If one stage is weak, risk can carry forward. A poorly planned service may be hard to secure. A poorly procured tool may lack needed controls. A poorly assigned device may become orphaned. A poorly tracked asset may be lost without notice. A poorly disposed drive may expose data. A poorly decommissioned application may remain as an attack path. For security plus questions, pay close attention to where the asset is in its life. If the scenario describes deciding what is needed and which security requirements should be considered before purchase, think planning. If it describes buying, approving, or selecting vendors and products, think procurement. If it describes giving a device, license, system, or resource to a user, team, or owner, think assignment. If it describes maintaining records of assets, costs, ownership, serial numbers, licenses, and status, think accounting. If it describes following assets as they move, change, disappear, or appear on the network, think tracking. If it describes wiping, destroying, recycling, or safely removing data from media, think disposal. If it describes retiring an application, server, cloud service, account, or environment from active use, think decommissioning. The scenario usually tells you the stage if you slow down and identify the action. The larger lesson is that assets become risky when their life cycle is unmanaged. A device that was never planned securely may not support the controls the organization needs. A service bought outside procurement may store data in the wrong place. An assigned laptop that is not tracked may disappear without notice. A software license with no owner may remain active after a person leaves. A retired server that is not decommissioned may keep exposing old vulnerabilities. A drive that is not disposed of properly may carry sensitive data outside the organization. Strong asset life cycle management prevents these quiet failures. It gives the organization control from the first request to the final retirement. Security operations depends on that control because every unmanaged asset is a place where assumptions can fail, and every properly managed asset is one more part of the environment that can be protected with confidence.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.